Hello everyone, my name is Gilber and today I am going to talk about the critique that I wrote. That is about an article written by Osma Wilches, which is called Critical Review on Education Language Policy in Colombia, exploring processes of inclusion, exclusion, and stratification in times of global reform. This is an article published in Profile Issues in Teachers' Professional Development. To start off, I would like to talk a little bit about the article, and this is a non-specific, deep in detail article that attempts to analyze the national bilingual program and some of the impact caused by the processes of inclusion, exclusion, and stratification in language education, among with the implications of teaching a foreign language in our country. To start off, I just want to mention the importance for us prospective teachers to know about this, because they are mentioning the National Bilingual Program, which is the program that is governing all educational settings in our country. To talk about the presentation of the article, it is presented in a chronological order to introduce the linguistics policies in Colombia. It's like a historical overview. He also starts talking about the processes of inclusion and exclusion in terms of local and international reform, how this is interconnecting to potential effects in schools, teachers, and educational centers in general, which is something that he points out very properly. After that, he starts talking about the indigenous language, and he tries to balance English and the indigenous language in our country, where I think it's where he finds a correlation that I don't perceive as understandable or as useful for the province, because he says that local minority language have not been assigned the high value that they deserve, and he risks when he suggests that English as a language with high value affects the indigenous language. And this is where I see the problem, because I don't think in a multi-ethnic country such as Colombia we should perceive the problems as the language with high value, I mean English, to be affecting or risking the value of our indigenous one. He says that society and education do not perceive indigenous language as language charged with value or importance, which can be true and which can be effective when he comes to argument his thesis, but one cannot say it is because another how language with value has taken its place, because foreign language should not create or mean a threat to our native ones. In contrast, what I want to say with it is that we should promote scenarios where these two languages can take place without affecting each other. The problem should not be perceived as the opportunities each language offer, because we are all looking for ones, right? And if we are not getting opportunities for indigenous one, well, the problem is not because English is better, but because schools and educational centers are not promoting these languages. And that's my whole point. That's what I critique about his lack of perspective in the argument. I think that individuals' lack of importance for indigenous language is not a threat to bilingual education in our country. Later on, he talks about the National Bilingual Program, where I totally agree with him, and is that the National Bilingual Program is a disadvantage for bilingual education, because first, it is promoted by international standards and international policies that do not correspond to our context or our realities, or the realities that each children live in their own skin. It is promoted with no context or previous knowledge for our students. And I agree with what he said, and is that by imposing a particular notion of bilingualism, the national bilingual programs do not seem to provide a favorable context for these cultures and language minorities. Instead, it seems to continue to stratify and underappreciate them, which I think is the whole point when we argue that we should not promote what has been stated by others.